All right, we are going to interview, basically, we're going to have a little conversation together because we don't have a moderator, so we're sort of acting as our own self-moderators.
Yep.
So we are going to talk about AI, especially in our industry, and our talk is mostly aimed at hoteliers as opposed to third parties or OTAs, although you might learn something too. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Sevket. I am the CEO and founder of Directful. In basic terms, what we do is we bring hotels' past guests back to the hotel, giving them a new channel to distribute their content and bring these people back and put their heads in the beds.
Thank you. And I am Valyn Perini. I work with Oracle Hospitality. I came into Oracle Hospitality through their acquisition of Nor1, which is an automated upselling tool. I see lots of nodding heads out there. Yay. We've been in the industry for about 17 years, and we have been using machine learning in our solution for 15. So we're here, both of us are obviously vendors. Both of us utilize AI in our solutions that we offer to the marketplace. So hadn't asked us to come and talk since we have the experience with AI implementations today. And those of you who are our customers are benefiting from AI in your applications, in your hotels today. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. All right. Why don't we, actually, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you get us started.
Sure. I think I forgot. I built 5 OTAs in the past. So I know both sides, like from the OTA end and also from the hotel end. So when we start about not everything is AI, I think it's crucial to know what's AI, if you can actually well describe what AI really is in today's context.
Yep, you want to bring up our friendly slide. All right, so this is sort of the classic, simplified but accurate graphic about AI and the components of AI. So we're going to use this as the basis today so everybody knows context. So AI is generally, as it says, any computer system that mimics human decision-making, so just so we're all on the same page. Within AI, there are components, so as you can see, they drill down, basically. Machine learning helps systems learn from data, and they can use the machine will use those data to predict patterns, to see patterns and make predictions and potentially prescribe action. Deep learning is sort of layers of AI, so it replicates the human brain, and then within all of that, generative AI, which is kind of the AI that everybody's been talking about the last 2 days. When they talk about AI, we have AI, or we're thinking about AI. In many cases, they're talking about generative AI. And generative AI can't exist without machine learning and deep learning. So they are intrinsically related, and you can't say it's machine learning or Gen AI. You can't have one without the other. And then, so we'll go into examples of each. So let's get into it. So why don't you talk to us and give us an example of machine learning?
Well, machine learning, I think machine learning is the one that is the foundation of AI in today's real modern AI terms. For me, it is like impossible to talk about AI if you don't have a machine learning inside. And machine learning is the learning system for the machines, which is done usually with raw data. When it comes to raw data, it is basically like millions and millions of data records that we're talking about here. And each of these data records, it's consisting of like hundreds to thousands, not necessarily all the time, but hundreds of thousands of different data points in each one. And the machine actually, when you feed this information to machine and you make the machine learn, what it does is that basically goes and analyzes the patterns inside it. And once it builds these patterns and learns from it, it will be able to make decisions and recommendations as a result of this learning, which is, if you ask me, it's very similar to humans itself. I mean, we all learn from past experiences. And next time when we are going to make a decision, we remember these past experiences and act based on it, which is extremely similar to machine learning. It works in the same principle. And in our case, these experiences are the raw data, which we don't normally talk about. I think one practical example is going to be like Netflix. So Netflix, is there anyone who doesn't know Netflix over here? I'm just trying to make sure I take the right topic, right example. So Netflix knows which content it's recording every single content you're viewing. How many times you read it, where did you pause it, what kind of genres that you're really, really interested in. And the time of the day of the year, the weather condition, you think about it. There are so many things that they collect. You see these little dots? That's like for one record, this is like this many data points that they capture. And then they're able to make the recommendations when you open up Netflix right up to your taste. And I think it really works. As we put these foundations on machine learning as well, it will be super important, I think, for us to understand the deep learning and if it is really like a human brain.
So I'll take that one. So deep learning, as I said earlier, subset of machine learning. And it is basically, you can think of it as layers of machine learning. So to create a neural network, very similar to how the human brain works. It processes many, many, many functions in real time simultaneously for a specific output. So very much like we do, we process many, many things all at one time. A great example, a classic example of deep learning is autonomous or self-driving cars. So I'd like all of you to think about the last time you drove a car. So think about everything that you were processing simultaneously while you drove a car. You were watching the road, you were listening for sirens, you were making sure that whatever that was you were smelling wasn't your brakes burning, but somebody else's. You were independently working your two hands and your 2 feet. You might have been talking with somebody in the car. You might have been thinking about your grocery shopping list. Maybe you were texting. You shouldn't have been, but maybe you were. So you were doing all these things simultaneously, processing all sorts of information simultaneously with the output of being able to drive your car. So when you think about self-driving cars, they're also doing the same thing. They're trying to process all of that information simultaneously so that they can act as the car acts as the agent, getting you to wherever it is you want to go without you actually having to do the driving. So it is so complex in its processing and kind of miraculous too when you think about it. So I think that's the best example I can give of deep learning. So I might just move right on to Gen AI.
Well, one second, I have another question. So that means that there are multiple machine learning models running at the same time?
That's right. Layers of them.
And these are like our neurons in our brain.
Exactly.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, the human brain mimicking was really fascinating to learn. Thank you very much. Well, I mean, we talked a lot about Gen AI, ChatGPT. Everybody's talking about it. I use it daily basis, by the way. It's my buddy, my kids telling me that, what did you just discuss everything with, with ChatGPT. So can you give us some more details about what this generative AI is?
Yeah, sure. So it's a subset of deep learning. So as I mentioned, they're all related. So large language models exist, which is just big sets of data. So you'll hear the term large language models or LLMs, large, very large, complex sets of data where the neural networks sort of act on that data and actually look for relationships, unknown relationships and patterns in that data to create something new. So unlike deep learning where the output is something fixed, so driving a car, in generative AI, it looks for unrelated, unknown, unseen before patterns in that data to create an output that's new. So the output, I'm sure you all know this, you've all been on, and I hope you actually have all been on ChatGPT or Google Bard or Meta or any one of the publicly available AI models out there or Gen AI models out there to see how they work. For all of them, they act on that big data, and the output is text, the output is images, the output is sound that we heard from the announcements, the output is videos or music. There are lots of smaller, very specific Gen AI tools out there. There's one that will create PowerPoint slides for you. There's all sorts out there. And I encourage you to use them just to educate yourself about how it works, what the output looks like, how you change your requests and how that changes the output, just so you understand how it can work even publicly and what the output looks like Don't do what Greg said yesterday, the hotelier that stuck all of his P&L data in there. Don't do that because these are public data, these are public models, so don't put stuff like that in there. But they can be really fun to play with to understand how they work. So I did, so here's an example of something that I did. This is on Bard. I love Google Bard. Plug for Google Bard. I had never spoken to a group of hospitality executives about AI and how to start educating about AI. So I put a prompt in there, which is in the red circle, and it spit out for me an outline for a presentation. So, it created something new out of something that just did not exist. So it's a fascinating use of technology, and it's going to change the way we do business. But from a Gen AI standpoint, it's probably not going to make any really great changes for us in the short term, but we'll get to that. All righty, I think that covers Gen AI.
I think before we actually start answering the actual question, so let's make one more fundamental definition about just a software, the classical software, what it is.
Right. So how do I know if we sort of turn the conversation to software, intelligent software versus not intelligent software? That's sort of how I think about it. Is how can you tell if it's the software has intelligence, especially if the vendor like us tells you that we have intelligence in our software. So how do you figure out if we're telling you the truth or not? And you would not go ask ChatGPT, just as a piece of advice. So a piece of software or a software function that doesn't have any intelligence it can't predict, it can't derive any relationships. There's no output other than what you expect that software to do. So for example, manually assigning a room to a guest in a property management system, right? So that is an unintelligent, it's a useful function in a piece of software, but there's no intelligence behind it. Or inserting a booking into a CRS, right? Again, it's useful, necessary for us in this industry, but there doesn't necessarily have to be any intelligence behind it. It doesn't mean that AI can't be applied to those functions. So you can apply intelligence to, for example, assigning rooms, balancing your house. There are ways you can apply intelligence to that. And you can also have a piece of software that has both intelligent and unintelligent functions sitting alongside together because some functions benefit from intelligence, but some don't. So using my company as an example with Nor1, we use machine learning to price upsell offers, but then we update the reservation record with the updated price or change the room type. There's no intelligence in that change. There's intelligence in the pricing, but not intelligence in the changing of it. So you can have, it's not all or nothing. I think that is how I would describe sort of intelligent versus non-intelligent.
Okay, thank you very much. Much appreciated.
So when a vendor like us is talking to hoteliers like them, what should they be listening for when we say to them, we have AI?
Oh, that's the hot topic of the session, of course. When you are looking for an AI-based solution, you need to actually navigate through the marketing, buzzwords. You need to get through it, and you need to be able to ask the product, the company about how you do your machine learning. Can you explain me? A genuine AI company should be simply explaining you how they process data, how do they make decisions, how they make recommendations. And also, that's a system that should be able to learn by itself. Unlike a standard software, it should be learn and adapt itself by getting more and more data and adapting to today's context. For example, just like you said a minute ago about the reservation, that system, that automated system, will keep on doing the same thing. Even though COVID came or didn't come, it will do the same exact thing. But an intelligent system that's powered with an AI will be able to adapt to changes with the new nuances of the world that we live in, and make different decisions and different recommendations. And one of the things that you should really ask when you're exploring that route, ask them how they use the data, where they get their data from, what's the use of this data, because they should easily be able to tell you, hey, look, we make these kind of decisions, and in order to make these decisions, we receive, let's say, reservation data. And from reservation data, we are able to take some part of it and build our machine learning model, and then we predict this. Usually with machine learning, that has to be some kind of prediction and adaptability, like I said before. So in the hotel context, let's give it an example. If there is an AI company, AI-based company that says, I have personalized guest experiences, they need to be able to demonstrate you that their personalized AI experience model is able to adapt and change its decisions and recommendations based on guest inputs. And also, really, like you see over here, it's, an AI software needs to be able to give you a result different than the standard software. For hotels context, I think the right ones would be, it should be tangibly give an improvement of guest satisfaction, an operational improvement, or revenue. And these things are going to make all sense. If the software is not able to make any differentiation, or they have vague, explanations of what they do, possibly not. If they use a lot of tech jargon, big red flag. So, I mean, it really needs to make a differentiation into you.
And I would say that a good question is, what's the point of AI in your application? So will it increase my revenue, or will it lower my costs? So you have to continue to be good stewards of your business. You're all executives, you all run businesses. So you have to continue to be that good steward. The question is, why do I care if there's AI in this application, and what will it improve? And that is the question that you need to ask. So given all of that, so now we're going to say, since we both have AI in our applications and we've told you how to listen to a vendor's discussion about AI in their system, we're going to briefly tell you how our applications use AI, using our own sort of standards that we just set for how vendors should talk to hoteliers. So why don't you start with Directful?
For us, it is really about the results. In a typical, I built 5 OTAs, like I told you. In OTAs, what I have seen is if you make like about 2% conversion ratio, you are pretty much on a break-even in terms of your marketing. And then if you're more than 4%, you're actually doing good business and you're in the right path. When it comes to hotels directly, independent hotels on their websites, they typically see between 2 to 5%, sometimes 8% conversion ratios. For branded hotels, that's like about 5 to 8% conversion. What we experience is we see constantly across the board, as an average, 15.5% conversion ratio in the automated marketing that we do for the hotels. That comes back for each and every hotel like about $15,000 a month of extra revenue that they didn't have before.
And how do you do that?
Well, it's complex. First is...
Don't use too much jargon.
I won't. Like you see over here, when we put hyper-personalization, there is a lot of data that we receive from the hotels, and we first need to clean it up. You need to cleanse the data, because the example over here, John Smith, can come to you as John Smith or Smith John. I have seen John Smith coming as a bus driver all the time. We first need to, we segment the guest data. And then once we segment the guest data, we get, and we call it, I'm sorry, I'm using a jargon, but it's called entity resolution, where we actually identify the guest's actual profile, who this person really is. What's his phone number, what's his email address, what's what are the things he likes, what kind of hotels he wants to go to. And then once we take this data, the next step is predicting their most likely time to make a new booking. And in each step, we use machine learning in order to get to our goal, and which is eventually resulting in a 15% conversion ratio. I think by itself, it sends out that I am different.
So your application of machine learning is to improve the guest profile so that you have a better opportunity of targeting a promotional offer to that guest, or an email, the content in an email to that guest that they will respond to.
Correct. And the most important thing what we do is, there are other, obviously, marketing tools or self-drip campaigns that you do. It's sometimes like phishing. According to our terms, what we do is we really predict their most likely time to actually make a new booking. We reach out to them ourselves, and then they actually, you see, in 1 or 2 days, they make a booking.
Very nice.
Which proves the point. How about you? What about like in Oracle or Nor1?
So when we started in 2007, we have no automation. So we were an automated upsell provider in the pre-arrival space, but our pricing was static. It was based on the differential between the booked room and the room that was offered as an upgrade, which could have, let's just say for purposes of argument, it was $30, right, for 3 nights stay. The challenge with that is that $30 did not reflect demand, and it did not reflect availability. So it had no meaning. It was just the differential between 2 room types. And you could say, well, we were applying revenue management to those 2 rooms, so those 2 rooms reflected demand. But demand for a booking is different than demand for an upsell. If you all think about the last time you bought an upgrade, it was probably, more than likely, it was divorced from the decisions that you made to book that room in the first place. So that's what we found, and we weren't doing all that well with static pricing of our upgrades. And so machine learning was sort of coming to the fore at that same time. So we took a leap and applied machine learning, and we divorced ourselves from the room pricing paradigms and focused on pricing of upgrades. But the way we had to do that was to understand the guest interaction with our offers. So we started in our machine learning, in our model, we included reservation data and then the results of guests seeing offers. And so the more guests said yes, the more our model went, so that's a good thing, that's a good thing. So when it forecasted the next guest that looked similar to the last guest who said yes, we would serve that back up again, or an offer similar. We also track the no's. So what's also important in machine learning is tracking the negatives. So let's just say the machine puts up an offer of $75 for 3 nights, and the guest abandons the offer page. Well, we want to know that. We want to know that $75 was not accepted by a guest with those types of attributes at that point in time. So once we started applying machine learning, we see a 25% uplift in revenue for the booking. So that's how we pitch ourselves to our customers. But basically, we apply machine learning to have better targeted upsell offers to that guest with a higher probability of conversion to drive revenue for you. So that's how we apply machine learning and how we talk about it. And it's fairly transparent, which is something else that you want to look for when you talk to vendors about machine learning or AI. All right, so we have 6 minutes. So let's see. Let's talk about how hotels ought to think about these tools, especially when it comes to data. You mentioned data earlier.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about data.
Well, that's our favorite slide. Data is crucial, and especially good quality data. If the data that we receive from hotels was like fantastic, we wouldn't have to do the first level of machine learning of understanding who this person really is. Apparently, just like here, we tell it a lot internally, garbage in, garbage out. If we all have a lot of garbage data, we wouldn't be able to do good results and good outcomes. I think hotels, when they're exploring AI-based solutions, they need to think about their strategies about it as well. I think there are really, really, really simple things that can be done, especially when the guest arrives to the front desk. Collect some information about the person, at least the name and the last name properly, You can ask their email address, phone number. This way you're going to build up quality data, and the software that you're using is going to give you a lot more better results. We have different customers, we advise it. Some of them is going to make maybe $5,000 a month, and the other will be enjoying $30,000 to $50,000 a month. It's based on how they build their own strategy when they are getting an AI-based solution.
And we all know, and I mean, as hoteliers and people who work in the industry, we've been talking about data and decent data for years, right? AI makes good data that much more important because it is acting on that data in real time. It's acting on lots of that data. So having clean, crisp data is more important than it ever has been, which is not the best news for all of us. There are a lot of people inputting data into our various systems, but it matters. It matters a lot.
Makes a huge difference.
And so for us, from a NOR1 standpoint, another thing I want to talk about data and big data, like a lot of people associate AI with big data. So the data that can be used intelligently doesn't have to be huge, diverse sets of data. Just because OpenAI has who knows how much data they have in their large language models, you don't have to have that much data to be effective and to apply intelligence to it. At NOR1, our data set, the scope of the data that we use to analyze for upsells is really pretty narrow. We analyze reservation data, we analyze the offer data in place for that hotel, what offers are available for that hotel, and then we look at availability of rooms, and that's pretty much it. The big data, part of our data for purposes of something as narrow as upselling, is that we have a lot of it. So we have a lot of data in a narrow scope. We have a lot of res data, we have a lot of guest interaction data with offers, and we just don't need more than that. So when they talk about big data, it doesn't have to be all the data in the world to create an effective data set. It just has to be the right data, and the more of that right data, the more intelligent, the better the output of that, whatever that intelligent function is. So we're kind of done. Are there any questions? Yes, Charlie. Are there microphones anywhere? No? Okay. Speak up then.
Yeah, sorry, I've got to admit, thank you very much, it's good. I hesitate a little bit because it's going to be combative, but
go for it.
Given that you're there on a platform saying this is when people in a sense oversell AI or whatever, I think my read of what you just said is you're using AI, both of you, to improve the performance of what you do. I totally get it. I think that, however, you also suggest, and feel free to tell me I'm wrong.
I will.
But when you said 20, yeah, you're like, look, we use AI and that's why we get 25% bookings. And Sevket, you said we use AI and that's why we have a 15% conversion rate. But I think what you're hiding there, if I may, is what I think depends do again and again, which is AI is one small part of that. The main reason you get 25% increase in revenue is because you're sending emails to people with an upgrade offer. You could send a heuristic, like everybody who's visiting this hotel gets this offer, right? And you'd still get a very good chunk of that 25%. I'm not saying the AI isn't super turbocharging it, but to suggest that it's AI, I think you're literally doing the thing on stage you're trying to tell us to watch out for. And Sevket, again, you get a 15% conversion rate because you're targeting past guests with an SMS text message. And people open SMS at a completely different rate to an email. So yes, you also get great results through AI, no doubt, but let's be honest, a chunk of it is because you're targeting a very specific group of users, and so the conversion rate is going to be higher. So I think you've got to separate out, I think, from when it's AI and the magic AI is happening, and when it's like because of the base business model. Both are good, and it's trying to wrap them up as AI. I feel that's what creates confusion for people.
I see your point. Thank you for that. I would say that our experience, just speaking, because this is my world, so speaking from a NOR1 standpoint, before we implemented machine learning, we had really pitiful conversion rates. So even though we were sending out offers, emails with offers, or we had calls to action on booking engines and emails, we just didn't have very good conversions. And it was because of the pricing, because the pricing was static, because it didn't reflect anything. And so for us, fortunately, I have data to be able to say, I understand your point, and it's not the AI. The product is not the AI. The AI allows our product to be better, to drive more revenue or reduce costs. The point is not the AI, but the AI does make, so in my specific case, it allows you to make more money using my product. So if I didn't have intelligence in it, you would make less money. So it's a good point, but I don't take it.
I mean, I'll also add to it a little bit from our side. I mean, look, each hotel, in average, they have like 35,000 guest profiles. If we reach out to 35,000 every single month and every single day, we wouldn't be getting more than 0.5%. But when you're reaching out to them at the right time, and this is, there is no other way for us to do it, the right time other than AI, we wouldn't be able to reach these levels, actually.
And I really appreciate the question. Like, I really want to say that's why we're here. Like, and my guess is that you're saying out loud what's in lots of people's heads. So I want to be really clear that I appreciate the question.
Well, I know, because we are the same, right? There are times where we go, for this problem, we're going to try AI. And it turns out, oh shit, a heuristic model is good enough.
Right,
Didn't need
that's true.
extra.
Correct.
That's true.
And the danger is, as a supplier, you then go, oh, but I quite like the fact that it was AI, because then everyone's excited by it. And you almost don't admit it.
Right.
And it's
Yes.
like just separating out the bits.
Yep.
Because very often the hotels, they don't have enough bookings or volume to actually really get enough sufficient data to make AI work.
That's right.
The heuristics will be just as good.
That's exactly right. And so the question is, will this improve whatever it is I'm trying to do? Will the application of intelligence improve whatever it is I'm trying to do? That is the question that you all need to ask yourself. And that's the question that you're asking, and it's the right one.
It's not necessary all the time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Other questions before Sebastian kicks me off the stage?
We can do that.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you very
much.